As we left the caver, we saw these pickup trucks. You know what they represent. They were all over the streets. And then you have in the back, you have these guys with ski masks and AK-47s. I get back to the hotel. I check my phone. There's active shooting going on between Giuliani's people and the Druze. And I'm like, Jarmana, wait a second, that sounds familiar. And I check the map, like, oh my gosh, we just came from there.
None of your business, Oshi.
None of your business, Michael.
It's the None of Your Business podcast, hosted by Michael and Oshi.
Welcome back, everybody, to another fantastic episode of the None of Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Michael Greenfield. Joined with me is our co-host, Oshi Schwartz. And we are backed by the Prime Source production team. Thank you again, Steph, Will, and everyone for doing such an amazing job. We're getting all your comments, your likes, your subscribes. It's awesome. We're loving the energy and we're loving the growth. And speaking of growth, today we have someone who I've been wanting for a long time. You and I have been playing cat and mouse. And there's a word, there's a line that you told me. What did you say when the other day when I couldn't reach you?
What was it? I don't know.
You said something about the time will pick you. You won't pick the time. What did you say? Something like you had a good line there.
How to remember? Check your
I'm going to check it. But
sounds like it was a great
guys,
line.
Jake Turx is in the house, everybody. So Shalom Aleichem. Welcome to our
World.
program.
Wait, which camera?
Your camera is right over there.
Okay. Hi, world.
Hi, our world, at least.
Hi, our world.
And I'm excited to have you here. I think that you said the clock picks us or something mystical. It was interesting. I appreciated what you were trying to say, which is that let nature take its course, and we'll figure out if we get there.
Well, yesterday you were adamant that we make this happen, and I didn't see any way that this would happen anytime the next couple of weeks for sure. And here we are.
What are you so busy with?
What am I so busy with?
Yeah, well, you have a job or something?
I'm busy telling all these different podcasts that I don't have time right now because otherwise,
Jake, we do a little thing called ChatGPT said what? So I would like to tell you what ChatGPT says about you. That way the audience gets to know you real quick. And,
have you done it yet? Have you put your name into ChatGPT?
Oh my gosh. When it came out, yeah, at first as a novelty, and I did not like what it did.
Well, you know what? Surprise, surprise. I have it here. So I'm going to let you and the world know what ChatGPT has to say about you.
How long have you been doing this? Is a pretty clever gimmick.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just started this 3 episodes ago.
And so, like, what happens if I'm guessing not everybody does ChatGPT have any information about it.
Right. So then I just simply don't do it. Yeah. But we have people here
and it saves you like research time. It's like,
Also,
I don't know. I'm just reading a list of
It's very hard to evade the internet. ChatGPT has something on pretty much everybody. Nobody gets away with ChatGPT. Okay. So you will have something here.
Here we go.
Let's do it. Okay.
Born Avram Yaakov Tarket.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pronounce that.
Okay.
What's your last name?
Turkeltaub.
Turkeltaub. Okay.
Much easier.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you shortened your name to Turx because it was too complicated to pronounce?
The world did it for me, and thank you, world.
So we just shortened it and gave you like a nickname. So now it's official. Now it's just Turx.
Now it's just Turx.
I love it.
And Avram Yaakov became Jake.
I love it. It goes. You know what? It fits. It fits. Although Avram Yaakov.
I look like a Jake, right?
I want to say you look like Avram Yaakov also in a way. So it's a compliment to you. In Barter Park, Brooklyn, the eldest of 11 children, educated at traditional yeshiva Brooklyn, Los Angeles, and Chicago, studied journalism informally at Columbia University Graduate School under Ari Goldman.
That's right.
What does that mean?
Professor Ari Goldman.
Informally. What does that mean?
That means that he's a journalism professor. He invited me to audit his classes. I was not enrolled in the college. Like, I didn't have to pay like $1 gazillion or whatever for the course. And I was already a journalist at the time. So I guess it was just like, hey, here's something you don't see every day. Hasidic guy is a journalist.
But you went to Columbia University?
Yeah.
You attended?
I was there. I even lectured there. And
that's amazing, by the way. I mean, forget about being a chassid.
That's a pretty big deal.
You're
saying today's environment.
I'm kind of not so.
Now you're embarrassed about it.
I'm not promoting. No, I'm not embarrassed. It was like a decade ago, but more. I'm not embarrassed. I'm just like, a little bit.
Yeah, you're cringing when you hear Columbia.
You began writing for Me magazine in 2011, and you served as the Washington bureau chief and senior White House correspondent. That's when Donald Trump threw a shoe at you, right? Is that what happened?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Wasn't that Bush? Somebody threw a shoe at him during one of his press conferences?
Yeah.
One of the journalists threw a shoe at him.
No, but it wasn't a White House report. It was in Iraq.
it was
that was one of the.
it was overseas.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Does that happen a lot?
What, the people throw shoes at the president? I heard it in Islam is like a sign of disrespect.
Yeah.
I mean, in the West, it's
Yeah.
it's not.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's not a sign. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just an Islamic thing.
Here comes a good one.
Are you still writing for the Ami magazine?
No, I'm with Mishpacha.
Ah, okay. I read a lot of your articles in Ami magazine. I remember seeing your picture over there, and then you would write a couple of pages, and I enjoyed it. I think you write well, and you made some very, very good points all the time. I thought that you were a little bit unfair towards Trump and a lot of your perspectives.
Okay.
But I thought it was very insightful. And Ami Magazine really upped their game over the years. Like, they became a proper magazine, especially their business articles that they put out. They still do that. That's also pretty cool. But Ami Magazine is very well known. It's become a prominent newspaper.
And that's
I
where
would
you
say.
started off your journalist career. Now you're fully Mishpacha.
I spent 13 years with Ami.
Oh, wow.
So yeah,
You-
it was
and
more
also
than
the-
just started off. It was like a big chunk of my entire life. You know.
Yeah. That was your first gig, your first like outlet into the journalistic world was Ami Magazine?
You always knew you wanted to be a journalist?
Well, in retrospect, it was obvious
Ah.
because I was always that kind of kid, in school.
Curious.
Like curious, but like not interested in what the teacher decided we should learn today. Just I would skip ahead, look for like the page that had like the roller coaster, and it's like if two roller coasters are going, it's one's 60 miles an hour and one's 87 miles an hour, and they're on the same track. I'm like, oh great, let's figure this out. And I was always like daydreaming and stuff like that. I think I was daydreaming by the principal's office more than in the classroom at a certain point.
Did you go to Hasidic schools growing up?
I went to a bunch of schools.
Okay.
Yeah, I switched schools a lot. I started in Bobov and Bar Park, and then my parents moved to LA for work. So I went to the Hasidic Jew in LA, then I went to Turx, then I went to a bunch of high schools.
Oh. So was Yiddish your first language?
Yeah, it was my first and only language growing up.
And when did you start learning English?
Well, I knew how to read English. My mother was a librarian, and she encouraged us to like take as many books as we wanted home, but she didn't let us speak English at home.
Interesting.
So we had an hour and a half of English in Bobov, and that was the extent of the English that we were.
Like English curriculum.
Yeah. It was like Yiddish and English. Those were the two.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like
Because you
Yiddish
speak well.
was-
You know, I've seen you speak on video clips as well.
Yeah,
you're
I can speak on well. I could like dial it back a little.
No,
bit.
that's not necessary.
I'm saying I can go back to the way I used to talking and.
Did you talk that way?
I
at
can
one
tell
point?
you, sure. I used to talk less than this even. My fourth grade teacher lives in Muncie, and he can back me up that in fourth grade I did not speak English.
Wow. So you learned English later on in your life. That's fascinating.
I made a conscious decision to stop thinking in Yiddish and start thinking in English at the age of 14. And it took me months of having to like recalibrate. Like I always had to like cut myself short and then like rethink my thoughts, like translate it over into English. It took a couple of months, a good couple of months until it started becoming my default.
Good for you. I'm just curious. Your thoughts and advice for other Hasidic kids and 14 years old to take that conscious decision, or just for you it worked?
I think anybody who needs to make that decision would make that decision without me having to tell them to.
Okay, a fair answer.
But look, Ein Duver Omid B'Vnai Rutza, nothing really stands in the way of your will.
That's the lesson. It's not so much to learn the English, but it's when you make a decision.
Yeah, I had this. When you're a perfectionist, when it comes to anything else, you could wing it. When it comes to language, you can't really wing it. You really, really, really need a little language, because if you don't know it, then it's going to come out very quickly.
I just want you to know, we were watching you parking your car outside.
I'm terrible, right?
No. It's not about terrible. You pulled in and you weren't comfortable with how straight the car was. Let alone there's 0 cars in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And you backed out and you went back in. And I said to Ushi, I said, he's a perfectionist.
That's true. That is yes, you got me.
Unbelievable. But that's
Yeah.
and that's a very good thing in many ways. And sometimes it can be a challenge, I guess. Life.
Yeah, it's very important to know up to what point being a perfectionist is a good thing. Perfectionism. Like if it comes from insecurity, then like you should be aware of it. If it comes because you hold yourself to a high standard and you're just never satisfied with anything, then it could be very detrimental. A lot of perfectionism comes from inadequacies somewhere else, and I think it's important for people to have this like perfectionism streak to try to like take a step back and ask yourself what's your mind telling you that's pushing you to be such a perfectionist. Like did someone once criticize you and you feel like you're reliving that moment and you don't want to, there are a lot of different ways of approaching this.
I'm starting to see why the next thing on the list is you were the first Hasidic Jew in the White House press corps, a historic milestone. I mean, it belongs here, and congratulations to you for reaching that.
Yeah, DEI Hasidic guy right here.
Yeah, DEI. Well, it says Hasidic Jew, but what about religious Jew? Are you the first religious Jew, or was there somebody before you that was part of the White House press corps that was religious?
Well, if you want to know how long I've been religious, I haven't been religious too long, but I think I was the first outwardly Hasidic before I would say I was the first inwardly religious. Does that make sense?
To me,
No.
it does. You're gonna have to explain it again, though.
Yeah.
I'm saying this facetiously. It's not
I know.
not literal, but
Yeah.
no, I've become a lot more in tune religiously over the last year and a half. Post October 7th, not specifically because of October 7th, but because of the Sefer that I have here, which has turned my life around
Oh,
in a good way.
well, I hope we can get to that.
No, we will get to that.
Oh,
That's
we
why we're
will
here.
be getting to it. I'm just going to read off one or two more things that is quite fascinating to me, is that you transitioned to the Mishpacha magazine as the chief White House correspondent in 24. So that's a very big position. Congratulations to you on that.
Thank you.
And we see always, your name and your articles. You're doing amazing things. You're putting.
Did you
things
see my
together.
Did you see my article on Syria?
No.
Oh my gosh, if someone loved to travel, you would love to see. I mean, you should be able to read that one.
Yeah.
You put out an article every week in the Mishpacha?
Yeah, more or less.
So every week a new article comes
Can you
out.
tell me a little bit of the snippet of the article about Syria?
Yeah, I spent a week in Syria.
Whoa.
The week before they lifted sanctions.
Oh.
And I was at some of the meetings that eventually led to the sanctions being lifted. I mean, they officially lifted it yesterday, but he announced it a couple of weeks ago in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, so remember there was a story, I don't know if it made it to your WhatsApp news
World.
cycle,
Yeah.
but there was a story that the Kever of Reb Chaim Vital had been vandalized. And these hooligans dug a 6.5 foot deep hole, trying to find the body. So this was like a half a week before his yard site. I was supposed to travel there with a group. We were going to have a minyan, and we're going to go to this caver on his yard site in daven. Well, apparently some people either got wind of it or they just took a lucky guess and wanted to intimidate the group, perhaps. And it worked because half the guys chickened out. So we didn't have a minyan, but we went down there and we filled back in the caver and we cleaned up the place and then installed like new cameras and I don't know what else. So that was, how long ago? We're talking about, say, 6 weeks ago, maybe? Anyway.
You have a lot going on.
yeah, maybe, I don't remember. But as we left the caver, we saw these pickup trucks with the Toyota pickup trucks. You know what
Stop it.
they represent?
Of course.
Yeah, they were all over the streets. And then you have in the back, you have these guys with ski masks and AK-47s. And they're all over the place. And I get back to the hotel. I didn't have service at the time. I get back to the hotel. I check my phone. And one of the fixtures I've been working with, he's like, yo, get down to the Jarmana neighborhood right now. There's like active shooting going on between, whatever, Giuliani's people and the Druze. And I'm like, Jarmana, wait a second, that sounds familiar. And I checked the map, like, oh my gosh, we just came from there. So like literally, I'd say a half hour after we left the caver, shooting broke out. And it was, it was all over the news. And like a day later, Bibi bombed the presidential palace to intimidate them. It was like, that was the week that I was there.
Oh.
And then a week and a half later, Trump met with him, and sanctions were lifted and everything.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a pretty wild trip.
Why were the sanctions lifted?
I was in Miami, by the way. I'm like thinking to myself,
exactly.
like, wow.
Yeah, that's pretty. He's
I'm
like
blown away.
He's right now in the most dangerous part of the world.
Literally.
That's literally where everything is going down on a daily basis. There's something happening there.
Yeah, but if you know what the danger is, then that like mitigates most of the danger. Like if you're aware of the danger, a country where you don't know much about the dangers, those are real dangerous. But the country where you know the danger because it's so like well known,
you're on constant alert. You're
on constant
watching.
alert, and you also know how to plan in advance, right? Yeah, it was.
Do you
pretty
have
cool.
security with you when you go to some of these places?
Depends where. Most of the time, it's better not to travel with security. It's better to have a fixer who knows the way around, and like he'll show you where to go, where not to go.
What's it called? Have a what?
A fixer, like
A fixer.
A fixer, yeah. It's like a local guy who's, this is what he does professionally. Fixers could be a liability too, of course. I mean, there were journalists who were kidnapped because the fixers were being like followed, and they're like, oh, they're gonna pick up a journalist now. Let's follow this guy,
Interesting.
So, but if you're in one of these countries with security, you're an automatic target. I mean, this guy has one life to give for Allah. He has no idea who you are, but if you're the guy with security, then you're the guy he wants to kill. But if you're just a random guy with a backpack, just minding your own business and not trying to provoke anybody, like no one's. I mean, unless you're like a recognizable figure. But,
Oh, she's sorry. These days you can't go anymore. I'm saying you're a recognizable figure.
Yeah, very public these days. Can I ask you something? What does your typical day look like on the job when you were? Where are you most of the week? Are you stationed in Washington?
Yeah.
Do you just travel there as needed, or is that your primary place and you're there for an extended period of time? Like, how does it work? Like, walk me through that.
I have an office there. I have an apartment there. Some weeks, depends on the week. Some weeks I'll be there all week. Some weeks I'll, the president's traveling. If it's like a holiday weekend or type of thing, some weeks are slower than others.
Do you ever go with the president, with the press corps, wherever he's going?
Sure.
You go along with him?
Yeah, I was with him in Saudi Arabia.
Wow. See, the last trip that when he went to Saudi Arabia, which was not long ago. What was that? A month ago or so?
A month ago, yeah.
A month ago. So you went there. So you flew on the plane with him?
No.
So you went on a separate plane?
Yeah, so they have a charter plane. Air Force One has one slot for print, for all the print rotations. All the print media are in rotation for one slot on Air Force One. Odds of your slot coming out on the day that he chose to travel is very, very small. Mm-hmm. So there's a charter plane, and that they charge you a fortune. And then you could just fly by yourself, which is what I chose to do.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So when you get there, they put you...
See, here's the thing. The first time, Trump's first term, his first trip was also Saudi Arabia. But back then, you had to go with the press corps because otherwise you couldn't get a visa to Saudi Arabia.
Right.
Now, it's not a problem anymore. They opened up. So you can get an e-visa in like a couple minutes.
So anybody can go.
Yeah.
So you get there to Saudi Arabia, you stay at a hotel, and then you go to all of his meetings, wherever he's meeting people, and you're part of the press that's there, that's watching, observing, and asking questions afterwards.
The funny story happened in Israel. It didn't happen in Israel. It keeps happening in Israel. Is when I'm with the motorcade, there's always like a Shin Bet guy who, like, I see them out of the corner of my eye. I see like the jaw drop and like, oh my gosh, we're all getting fired. And then they run over to me and they don't check to see if I have credentials. Their instinct is to grab me by the arms. That's like their instinct. So I've kind of already like I already know how to just if someone grabs you, you just flip them your press ID and then they just leave you alone. And I don't think they still have gotten over it. It's a very, very traumatizing concept for them that a Hasidic guy, like one of them, made it and is part of the White House motorcade. So,
Right. You still feel like
Yeah.
it's like you might not belong there, or that feeling, or
well, they feel like I don't belong.
I'm saying that you,
Yeah.
you feel that they feel that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you ever feel self-conscious about being in a room where you look different and you're clearly standing out, or not?
And here's the funny thing: I don't see myself, so I see only everybody else, and I'm like, oh, everyone in the room looks the same. This is perfect.
Also, there are other reporters from other countries and other, there's other
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
people also that, you'd be like, whoa, who's that guy? I mean, but I like your look. I think
I like it too. Thank you.
You have a signature look as well.
It's a signature look.
Like
for
you can
sure.
always
Right.
count on you with a hat, and
Yeah.
with the garb, and the payas. It makes you stand out. It's a very easy way to identify. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm curious about what Oshi was saying a minute ago. So your week is that you follow the president where he's going, right? But when he's not traveling or you're not doing that, what else are you busy with? Like what are your
There's
focus?
Capitol Hill.
Okay.
There are the government agencies. There are all these like NGOs and whatever, all these offices all over DC. There's always something to do. There's always someone to meet. There are protests, stuff to learn.
Right.
So you have access to all of these places wherever you want to go. You can come in and you can observe, and then you can find different. Like, how does it work? Like, you could just ask anybody a question. Like, you could have a senator that's walking out of a meeting, and you can approach him and start asking questions.
Yeah. So senators, politicians, they don't want to say no. So they have like this hired guy called a handler, and the handler is the guy who's like, he's like, oh, sorry, the senator's on his way to a meeting. Oh, he'd love to talk to you, but he's on his, like, their job is to interrupt and make sure that, but usually they'll give it like 10 seconds to see if like how the exchange starts going. And if they don't like the direction it's taking, they'll whisk the guy away.
Right.
But usually politicians, they don't mind talking. They like to talk.
That's their job.
Exactly. So, yeah.
They want to get on camera.
Yeah.
They have a message. So if it's not the politics that you're following in the Capitol Hill, right?
Yeah.
You're following other events that are happening, I guess, in the world of politics. You're focusing on Jewish politics. Like, what is your most focus on?
I try to focus on things that's going to teach me something new. And usually that's not politics.
For example, what happened recently that you learned that's something new?
Okay. Iran. What happened? Why were there no why was there no revolution, or like why didn't people why was there no regime change? This is a golden opportunity apparently, right? So, well, I started asking questions. I started, met with some people, former dissidents, people who are, who have connections over there, got in touch with other people through them. And, it turns out that the government had this contingency in place for such a precise type of moment. And they have the Basij is their, I guess, religious police, but they serve more than just that function. And you're talking about anywhere between 50 and 100,000 of them.
Wow.
Every major city, all the big streets. They just set up barricades, and they just park themselves along the big streets. You walk out of your house, they're going to ask you for your ID, and ask you for your passport or whatever. And if they don't like your personality, they could just take you in for questioning. If let's say you're like, oh, sorry, I got to go get it, they'll say, okay, you have 2 minutes, go get it and come right back. Or you're like, oh, happen to have it on me here. They look at it, they pull out their device. You're like, oh my gosh, did I post anything on Twitter in the last 20 years? Like, oh. And they look you up. And if there are no red flags, they're like, go ahead, enjoy your day. And if a red flag shows up, they'll put you in the back of the van. So now your neighbor sees this happening. What's your neighbor going to do? Your neighbor will be like, yeah,
I'm going to stay indoors today.
Yeah, I'm out of peanut butter, but I think I'll just go plain jelly, Right? So right off the bat, you can't move. You can't do anything in that kind of setting.
They're stoking fear amongst the people.
But it was very coordinated,
Systematic, though.
very systematic.
That's the most.
It was
fascinating
well
part about
rehearsed.
this, right.
It was well rehearsed.
They knew this was coming.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
For years, and they were like,
They're an authoritarian regime. They are the essence of what
but
that
people
means.
don't talk about this part of what you're talking
Right.
about.
So this is something that
So interesting.
Like I was very curious about it. Like you ask a politician about this, the politician's not going to give you an answer. They're just going to give you a talking point. They'll give you a pre-rehearsed answer. And politicians typically walk around with like 5 or 6 talking points. Any question you ask them on any topic, they'll segue to one of those answers. But when you talk to people on the ground, then you find that actual information that's not out there. So you start with a question, you start with curiosity, and then you see where that takes you.
Now I see what you're saying, by the way, when you were back in school, and what you're talking about, because you're not accepting the regular answer. You're seeking the truth. You want.
He's an investigative
Yeah.
journalist.
Right.
This is
Well,
literally what he does.
Yeah, so,
this is his
you know.
vocation.
Yeah,
This is his
amazing.
skill set. It's to go out there and uncover the truth.
Now, this didn't take much to uncover. It wasn't like I didn't have to, it's just, you just ask some basic questions of people who know. And the problem is that most people who think they know, it's because they're getting information from pundits who maybe they know, maybe they don't. Hit or miss.
Right. You have to verify these things also, which is difficult to do in a world where everybody is just saying their opinion. Or
Right.
They say that it happened because they heard someone say it happened, but you're never sure. How much of what we hear then on the news is actually accurate?
You know what's even worse, in my opinion? How much of what we read in history books is actually accurate?
It's
Right?
a scary thought.
Think about it. I guess kind of like Twitter brought that out, that anybody with an opinion can go viral. And usually, more often than not, they'll go viral for the wrong reasons. And it's just not grounded in anything. But they'll have their mazel and they'll go viral. So that detail about Napoleon's life that everybody knows came because one person spread that detail. Was that person right? Who knows?
Well, there are also noted historians that write things that were verified, right? So
William Wallace. We
Okay.
know like practically nothing about his life, but yet like entire movies were built off of his life. So like where does that come from?
Who's William Wallace?
it's stories, I guess you hear.
He was this Scottish revolutionary back like hundreds of years ago. I don't know.
I mean, you brought some Sfarim with you, and you said that around a year and a half ago, you had some sort of
Religious awakening.
I guess
Yeah.
revelation.
I'm
or
actually
something.
putting that to script. You didn't say that, but
No, yeah, you could call that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd
Yeah.
like to jump into that for a minute because you're talking about history. And the
Yeah.
first thing that came to my mind when you said those words, I thought of the Torah. And I was thinking to myself, like, the Torah is something that's been written and passed down generation by generation. And the accuracy of everything that happens in what we read is always questionable. But, we base things on witnesses. We base things on, things that are written down that people have seen, right? So what do you want to show me?
But then what do you do when there's an argument over on a historic thing in Chazal? Let's say Rav and Shmuel. Rav says this,
Yeah.
Shmuel says that.
Yeah,
Well, how could they both have happened? One of them must be wrong,
right.
right? That would be like the cynic in you would right away say like, okay, one of them must have missed the boat. One of the things I realized from Sefer Vadia and then other stuff that I started learning from there is that it is not just possible, but it is the default to, you want to describe something in as few words as possible. And so if you could describe something with like multiple layers using only a few words that account for the various different timelines, various different layers, that is an actual, like it's a thing. It's a thing in Chazal where they tried to be concise. And so they chose a very specific word that translates multiple ways. And you can see how each of the multiple translations are playing out at the same time.
so it's by design, is what you're saying.
Yeah. It's by design, and it's also possible. So a very basic example would be, there's this machlekes, was Achashverosh a genius or was he a moron? Right? So it's Rav and Shmuel. And with Trump, I guess you could see both in one guy. Sometimes he does something where you're like, wow, that's genius. Sometimes he does something like, oh, what a moron.
How can you do that?
Yeah. So you could see that, and it makes sense. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you had to describe Trump to future generations, how would you describe him? So if you like him, you'd be like, come on, okay, he does some dumb things, but the guy's a genius. And if you hate him, it's like, dude, he's a moron. And they're talking about the same guy.
Right. You don't, there's no middle ground on this. With Trump, it's like either people love him, swear by him,
Right.
or they hate him.
Yeah, but his point is that it's not just about Trump; it's about anybody in history. That you have two different perspectives,
and we're
And they
getting
can
someone
both
else's
be
perspective.
true at the same time.
Yeah.
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 So that's why I wanted to ask you about this safer that you brought,
Yeah.
because I'm very curious about history and writings and factual stuff versus stuff that are made up, so to
Yeah.
speak, in the history of things that are written. So tell me about this journey of yours. How did you stumble upon this?
Okay.
What is it? And maybe educate me and the audience as to, in general, the idea of prophecy and et cetera.
So I was deeply cynical about everything in life. And then what Avadia did for me and the religious awakening that I had, as though she referenced, is it made me realize that every single word in the Torah is true, even if I don't understand what it means. And I don't need to understand what it means. I can accept it. And how did that Sefer do this for me? Because I came to the realization that Sefer was describing in very specific terms exactly what's been playing out in the news over the last couple of years. And it also says what's going to be happening down the line as well in the very near future. And I've seen things unfold, and as they unfold, it's like, oh my gosh, wow. But then a couple months later, I'll see another aspect of that same, of those same words unfold in a different way. And it's like, wow, he must have described both of these, because these are two massive events that fit into the same words. And it's I'm jumping ahead of myself over here. But I'm just trying to give you kind of like a zooming out before zooming in of just the mindset shift that I had through this. Okay.
This episode is sponsored by Qualmax Supplies. Qualmax is a leading distributor of housekeeping supplies, Ushi, and they're a tremendous partner vendor of ours, and they're backed by Brady, which is a company that has over 180 locations throughout the country. What can you tell us about Qualmax, Ushi?
They have distribution centers everywhere. They can get you supplies same day, next day. They sell hundreds of thousands of SKUs. Any EVS, janitorial supplies, they got you covered. They have that local touch, feel customer service. Their reps will assist you through anything. They'll do visits to your facilities. They'll tell you exactly what you need. They'll get you brand new dispensers, all for free. And their pricing is not to be beaten. Big fans of what they're doing, especially the owner, Joel Greenfield. He's amazing. And his partners, all the people there.
So it was post October 7th, and someone brought to my attention that there's a reference to the Houthis in Avadia. Now, Avadia is the shortest sefer in Tanakh. It's one parak. It's the TLDR sefer. It's the sefer that a Navi who saw our generation would have known to keep to one paragraph, right? He'd be like, okay, guys, 21 psukim, I'm sure you can handle it. And he wrote it also very concise. He packed a ton of information in there. So,
and just for my own education, who was Ovadia? Who was he? He was a prophet?
He was a prophet, yeah. So in there's a sefer Trei Asar, that is the 12 shorter prophecies, and they were kind of put together to a single sefer so that they don't like end up getting lost over the generations, because it's just one page of Avadia. Avadia is the Haftarah of Parshat Vayishlach. So, and it's the entire sefer is that Haftarah. And in the sefer it talks about one thing and one thing only, and that is the collapse of Edom, them being the coalition that is going to have a monopoly on all the knowledge, all the technology, and then one day they're going to be wiped out of. They're going to lose all their influence and all their knowledge.
Is that America?
That's more broadly understood to mean Western civilization.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, what was Esav's MO? He was like a very deceitful, dishonest person, right? He put on a bekesh and a shtrammel and start saying Shalashidus Torah about how to take meiser from salt. Okay, he always pretends to be the good guy. Oh no, I love you. Come here, give me a hug. We're brothers. But really, he's going to stab you in the back if you don't watch out, right? He's very into flattery, he's very disingenuous.
Manipulator.
Right. Now, these manipulations manifest itself in a few specific ways. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, He gets up in his medrash, he claps out on the beam, and he says, Rabbi Sai, you should know when the Romans build bridges and roads, they do it for their own sake, not for us. Thank you. Shkoyach. Who didn't know that? Like, who's he talking to? And now he's got a target on his back. What? Like you said the quiet part out loud? Like, don't go to North Korea and say Kim Jong-un is fat. Don't say that. Okay? You know.
Could we say it here? Because he is fat.
Okay. But you can't just say the thing that and like, again, what's the point? And he's saying this at the prime of his life. And now he spends the next 12 years on the run. Like, he doesn't know, like, why is he risking his life saying something that everybody in that generation already knew? So what I came to realize is that there was a message to future generations. How do we know who's Edom? How do we know who's Edom? Edom is the nation that they go all over the world. They pretend to give out aid. They pretend to be engaged in humanitarian relief, and they're only doing it for themselves. They're not really trying to help other people. Now, there will be a generation where they'll call it colonies. There'll be a generation where they call it humanitarian aid. But it's always the same thing. You go to another country, you build up the infrastructure that fits the whatever resource extraction you're interested in. You trickle in a little bit of money for malaria or whatever, and then you install a puppet regime that works with your bottom line. And then, USAID just officially shut down, so we can.
Did they finally?
Yeah.
Did they really?
Like as of 2 days ago, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, but this is a Western thing. It's like either go to help or just do what China's doing. Just buy out their debt and then enslave the country. Now they're yours. Do what Qatar's doing. Like, be open about it. But no, we're the good guys. We're just here to help. So he's like, there's certain things that never change. And when it was Edom back in Har Seir, they had a remanifestation in Rome. And then the third iteration was Western civilization. It's all based on the same core principles. See what I'm saying?
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I actually do see what he's saying.
No, I do see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm just curious why this prophecy is the one prophecy that is, is
Well,
the
he
one
just
that-
gave you the first example of this thing with Edom and how he
that's
sees
all-
this.
that's what it is.
How he sees this playing
that's a
out.
characteristic.
Yeah.
But so
No, I was curious as how this one prophecy changed your outlet. You're saying things that make sense.
Yeah,
you
because-
would have known this 10 years ago. Also.
because I realized, I'll tell you what,
That's what I'm asking. What's the realization?
The realization was that everything that I learned my entire life, everything that I thought I was interested in, everything that I pursued because I was curious about it, was all just to give me the right knowledge set so that I should be able to understand this prophecy. Because I used to like follow the news like 10, 12, 14 hours a day. And now I'm learning to hear 10, 12, 14 hours a day because
Wow.
because I'm following the news to see where it fits into different prophecies, to see like how it fits in with Zohar's, Midrashim, things like that. So it's given my life a whole like new kind of meaning, and it's also like kind of given me closure on why this profession was perfect for me and like how I got here and what my role should be moving forward.
So there's a question we like to ask our guests somewhere in the middle of the podcast. Now would be a great time is if you had a message to the world that you can scream out to everyone that can hear you, what would be your message? You could feel free to look in the camera there if you want.
Yeah, but it's the same message that everybody's already heard from everybody else.
No. I want what your message. I don't want to repeat of everybody.
I don't have my own message. The message is
Yep.
do tshuva before it's too late, because there will be a point where the door's shut for good. And the other message is, I just feel more personal looking at you guys.
I was joking about that.
Okay. The message here is why. So every generation that didn't rebuild the Beis HaMikdash, it's as if they destroyed it. Which means if the Beis HaMikdash would have been rebuilt 100 years ago, it would have been destroyed in that generation. Why? For the same reason that it was destroyed in the first time and the second time. Well, more the second time, which was baseless hatred, sinas chinam. So how do we retain a Beis HaMikdash? Through Ahavas Chinam. Ahavas Chinam doesn't mean loving somebody for no reason. Ahavas Chinam doesn't mean pulling over for a guy who has a flat tire, like a total stranger with a flat. We're doing that. we're doing that amazing. But that's not Ahavas Chinam. Ahavas Chinam is a challenge. Ahavas Chinam is loving someone when you have every justifiable reason to hate the guy. And love him anyway. Because hate is not about him, it's about yourself. So you shouldn't hate. That's all. Doesn't mean that you should accept or approve. It just means don't hate. Don't hate. Find someone who you have every reason to hate and don't.
It's a good message.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough. I've heard this kind of concept before, but when you look at the person, I always say there's always 5 people in this world. I have this thing, that people always say, oh, everyone thinks he's a nice guy. No, there's always 5 people that think you're not a nice guy. And there's always 5 people that you think are not nice people. Like everybody has that in this world. So you want me to take those guys that I think that are not great people in this world and then look at them and say that they are great people?
No.
Or you want me to say that they're a messenger and therefore I should, let them go scot-free for creating a Ponzi scheme and taking out hundreds of thousands of dollars from our neighborhoods and doing terrible criminal acts and not being in jail even though they should be? Like, I should look at them as a good thing? Like, that's Ahavas Chinam? I'm trying to understand.
What does Lo Yisama Dal Dam Re'echa mean?
I don't know.
Don't stand idly by when your brother's blood is being shed.
Okay.
If someone is causing pain to someone else, you've got to inform authorities. You can't just let the guy get away with it. That's not Ahavas Chinam. There's society has to operate with a set of rules.
So you're making a distinction.
Of course. Look, if someone ripped you off and owes you money or whatever, like I'm not saying just forgive it and just kumbaya. No, that's ridiculous.
Sure you're
society.
No,
You took it to a very extreme level.
No, we didn't. No, that's a reasonable question.
His messaging was
no,
very
that's a reasonable
apropos.
question. But if you had this question, it means other people have this question. So it's important to put this out there. It's more in the sense of a group of people. If you see a group of people, you're like, I can love anyone but them. So you see a guy on Shabbos when Gestreimel is waving a Palestinian flag. Triggers you. Triggers. It doesn't trigger. It's just painful, right? And so what are you going to do? You going to hate the guy?
Yes.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
He's an animal.
Okay.
There's nothing worse than someone who's a self-hating individual.
Is that what they're doing?
I believe so.
Okay. Have you ever engaged in an honest conversation with them to see if
I've heard enough. I've heard it all from them. They're very clear about their messaging. They're not hiding it.
What's the message?
At the end of the day, their message is that they don't approve of the way we go about the Israel state. They don't approve of how we are, and therefore they're going to side with the antagonists and with the people that are trying to actively kill us. To me, that's unacceptable. You're siding with the enemy, even if we're morally not clear and we are wrong. You don't side with the enemy to the point that they're actually trying to kill us. That's very extreme. That means that they're just self-hating.
Do you think that their actions has contributed to more Jews being killed?
No. I don't think they have that much sway. They're just a little tiny little minority that's making noise, but they're no political power. I don't think they have any type of...
Do you think
there's no legitimacy to them.
Do you think their action has resulted in maybe fewer Jews being killed? Like when I walk in the street, you think it's possible for someone to say, I'm not sure, is he on their side or not? You know what? Just to be safe, I'm not going to beat him up. Like, conceivably, could that happen?
I guess that's possible.
Okay. So there's more that we don't know, right? Okay. Now, why are they so comfortable? Why are our enemies so comfortable with these Jews? They hate all Jews except for them. Why? Because
they're siding with them.
Okay.
They're conceding to them.
However, ultimately, these people pray the same prayers we pray. They also say V'Yerushalayim Ercha Barachim Tashav. They also say V'Tachzena Eneinu B'Shivcha L'Siyam Barachimim. They also daven for the Beis HaMikdash. They just believe that the Zionist government is what's holding back the process. And they believe that as long as the Zionists are in charge, more attacks are liable to happen. Let's say this is their worldview, right? And so they believe that the sooner the Zionist government's disbanded, the quicker Jews can be safe. I'm not saying I agree with this. I'm just telling you their basic worldview.
We as Jews have been attacked throughout the dawn of time when we didn't have Israel, and when we didn't have a base of military. Wherever we were across the globe, we were being attacked.
Yeah.
It's not like the state of Israel is all of a sudden what the problem is, and if we give that up,
No, but that's
then we'll be safe. And I think that's their view, is that we're holding back Mashiach from coming
well.
because of we're doing it a little too early. We're taking matters into our own hands.
Yeah.
And that's not what, right? That's what their whole claim is.
Right.
But if you think about it, we've been in this situation before, and before that, we've been in this situation forever.
Yeah, but this specific situation over the last 7 years is unique. It's unique in our history. We don't have precedent of us taking like control of Israel and Mashiach not showing up. We don't have that yet, right? But ultimately, here's what I'm building towards. The reason why they feel so comfortable with our enemies and vice versa is because we keep pushing them away. When we push other Jews away, that gives the Satan the ammo, and that's why they feel very close together. It's our hatred that's doing this. If we just accept to not hate, and just
Find ways to love each other.
find ways
Be
to love them.
unified.
You're
Find
not
ways.
saying you find ways to love them. You're saying find ways to not hate them. That's two totally
Yeah.
different things.
Right.
Jake, let me ask you a question. Why can't they just protest somewhere else? Like, why are they protesting with the people that are like from the river to the sea and
Yeah.
everything? Like, do what you got to do, but don't march with everybody who's so anti us.
Right.
That's
and wants to
why.
kill us.
Exactly.
That's
go
why it's a
up-
challenge.
March on Route 59,
Yeah, exactly.
where
Like,
the
don't-
Jews are, and tell us about it. Why do you have to go stand?
That's
with the
that's
Free Palestine
precisely
movement?
why it's a challenge. Otherwise, it would be too easy. It's meant to be a challenge. Look, I'm old enough to remember when Chabad was not mainstreamed, when the entirety of the Jewish mainstream pretended that Chabad didn't exist. They were conveniently around when you needed to go to Yehopas, Nebraska. But other than that, Chabad, and as a journalist, I can tell you when I started in media in 2010, 2011, the unwritten rule of Frum Media was to not give any ink to Chabad stories. They just ignored it. They just pretended it didn't happen. They there were two breakthroughs. One was the Rabashkin case and Rabbi Pinchas Lipsch from the Ated. And he started with Rabashkin was mainstream enough. That was like the first big Chabad story. And then the second thing was Ami magazine. When Ami launched, they would focus on a different Chabad community every week. I mean, they would focus on a different community, and it ended up being Chabad
I
almost all
remember
the time.
this. Yeah.
So for the
highlighting
first year and a
community.
half, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, when there was like a big story involving like a Chabad Shliach or Mashpir or whatever, that put it on the cover. And the other outlets realized, hey, we're losing out on. I mean, these guys have so many stories out of this one community, and then eventually it started filtering out to others. And now Chabad is completely mainstream, Baruch Hashem. But growing up, I mean, I'm not going to say it, but I remember the things that people were saying about Chabad. Baruch Hashem, we've gotten past that, right? There has to be a group that presents a challenge, and so the crazier it is, it's like, oh my gosh, on Shabbos, wish dreimels and beards and they're hugging Ahmadinejad. Like how can you get past it? But that should clue you in. It's too perfect. It's too scripted. Like, of course it's the Satan. Like what else? Like, you think this would just happen randomly? Of course it's by design. This is the challenge. You see what I'm saying?
I can hear what you're saying. I do think that we've been doing a really good job, and I'm not representing all the Jews here talking. I'm not the mouthpiece for everyone. But from what I see, it seems like the inclusiveness ever since October 7th is much more rampant. Chassidish, Litvish, modern, yeshivish, whatever it might be. I think we're all realizing more and more that we are all cut from the same cloth at the end of the day. We all come from the same place. We're all hoping to go to the same place. And the unity is much more defined. It's much more recognizable than it was in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And I think the state of Israel has something to do with that, because it makes us all feel like we have that home base. We all have that place that we could rely on, that when things go south and something goes wrong, we can all default back to that. And we have somebody out there, a machine that's going to have our back. And so I think that's something really special about it. So based on what you're saying, the whole Israel movement and the Zionistic government is actually embellishing the unity for the Jews across the globe.
More than that, they're also the biggest number one supporter of Torah learning in the world.
There you go.
So of course, I mean, I guess there are two types of religious Jews that don't accept Zionism as a movement. One will say, well, you said, they're like, look, they are the biggest protectors of the lives of Jewish people. Yeah, I mean Hashem, but they're the shliach. And the other side will say is like, if they didn't exist, we wouldn't need that much protecting and
Garbage.
you know.
There's no
So-
such side. That's garbage.
Hold on.
History has taught us otherwise.
Hold on. Again, so I'm the straw man. Talk to them. Just talk to them. Invite them. Have one of them sitting here. Maybe
Who's
not.
them? Who are they? Who
I
says
don't
that? Nutura Carta? I mean,
Yeah.
who is it?
Fine.
Yeah, that's what we're
Find
talking
one
about.
of them. I
here,
don't
yeah.
Okay.
But I'm saying not to give them a platform necessarily, but just to pick their brain. I don't know. Look, you're doing a good job without.
We
without
actually
my
had
input.
we saw a podcast recently where they had a Natura Carta guy on there.
Okay. And how did it go?
if you looked at the comment section,
Wait, what kind of podcast was it?
it was somebody who's like an ex-Hasidic guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he was very anti against the Natura Carta, and he had them on his podcast, and they went at it.
You talking about Nachi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was his podcast.
I think so.
Yeah, and they went at it. And a lot of the people were very angry that he even platformed this person
Right.
and gave him a voice to speak. And there were some people that you saw that were actually reforming a little bit towards him, saying, you know what, the guy made some decent points. The guy's actually not as crazy as I thought he was.
They're not crazy.
That's what he's
They're
trying to
not.
say.
They're
The
not
guy's-
crazy.
The guy's actually very clever. He's actually very, very logical in his thinking. And that's very scary, is that, we can grow. This movement can expand. I don't know if that's the greatest thing for us.
It's not expanding, but it's just that there's a point there of what he's saying is that we're going back to hating them versus accepting, and not.
Yeah, look,
not
they're
focusing on the
a
hate.
reality. They're not going away.
Exactly.
You're never going to change their mind. They're never
Yeah.
going to change your mind.
True.
Accept it.
But you think
And
like if
don't
they
hate
apply
them.
for Tamchei Shabbos, one of these folks, they wouldn't get it. Like we would still extend our hand to them because they still
I
are
hope
Jews.
so. I hope
we
so.
recognize it,
Yeah.
but we don't have to invite them into our homes.
No, there are a lot of people who. I mean, if someone found out that one of these guys are getting Tamchei Shabbos, I'm sure there'll be a lot of pressure on Tamchei Shabbos.
to stop.
to stop it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why they're anonymous, I guess. But yeah. That's again. I know these are very heavy words, but think for a second. Every generation, we always had someone to hate. And this generation, and every generation, we were justified. Whoever we hated, it made all the sense of the world why it was a mitzvah to hate them. But just think about it. Think about what would a Satan who has 2,000 years of experience, how would he script such a thing? How would he make it too tempting to not hate people?
Yeah.
Right?
It almost feels like it's a mitzvah to hate them.
The
You're
mitzvah
right.
to hate them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They're the only group really, I think, that I could think of right now that we would say it's a mitzvah. Like someone's a Machal Shabbos would be like, yeah, come into our house, come have a meal with us. Just
What about like the Chuck Schumers of the world? The really hard left-leaning Democrats, the radical Democrats. What about those people? Would you put them into that box of Natura Carta?
see, that's a great question. The difference being that the Torah Carta claims to have a Messiah based on Jewish tradition,
Yeah.
that they claim to receive from their fathers and grandfathers, and they trace it back to the Gdolim of World War II era Europe, and they're like, this is the Messiah we have, so go fly a kite. We're not changing our Messiah. Like, this is it. Like, we don't have the luxury of changing even if we wanted to. Schumer is not. It's not. I mean, he's asked about George Soros. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, these are individuals.
Right.
You could judge an individual. It's not you're not judging him as part of a group, even though he belongs to a group. But that's not what the question is. It's like, would you vote for Chuck Schumer or not? Okay, that's a fair. It's a conversation. Well, what if it's Schumer versus Mamdani? Would you still vote for Schumer? Like, yeah, it's a conversation we can have. But it's not. We're not actively pushing away other Jews to the extent that our enemies feel comfortable enough inviting them in.
You brought it up, so I'm going to ask you, what's your thoughts on New York?
Well, New York is one of the beacons of Edom, one of the beacons of Western culture. And Western culture is, and again, the disingenuous part of Western culture is going to be wiped out. So I would not be surprised if New York ceases to become the beacon of power and influence in a very short period of time. I would say the same about LA. I did the Yaakov Langer podcast a week before the LA fires broke out. And I was showing in a video where where it talks about how the culture of Edom is going to be wiped out by these raging fires that will burn as like fire devouring hay. So once one piece of hay catches on, like good luck. You can't like
Can you maybe tell
you
us
cannot
what else
contain
it
it.
says in there? I mean, so we
Sure.
what's another thing that you're?
But then think
Yeah.
about it. The idea was like it was not wildfire season.
Right.
It was in January.
Right.
And those fires were raging out of control. And then you had, I mean, how were these fires lit? It was all arson.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah, that's well documented. I think when
It's
you're
not,
saying
it's not that well documented. A lot of it's been
I mean,
suppressed.
everybody was pointing towards that.
Yeah.
There was there as far as Western culture is Westernized culture is going to slowly dissipate and is slowly going to go away. Are you talking about like we're going to be infiltrated by others? Like for example, look at Paris. Look what happened there.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time until it just becomes an extension of the Gulf, right? Of the
Yep.
Gulf Coast.
That's exactly what he's saying.
Is that what you mean?
So Ivadi spells that out a lot more clearly than just that. So he says that every nation of Edom is going to be punished, or rather will face their end precisely the way they dealt with the Jews throughout their history. So if you look at the countries that are being overrun with migration right now, they're the ones that had the highest assimilation rates in history, where like most Jews were lost out because of assimilation. Also, the ones that were very active on expulsion of Jews, like just look out for what happens over, like the UK, France, they were the first ones to expel their Jews. Just saying. Spain, just saying. Look at what's going to happen to Rome. Watch what happens to Rome. Okay, keep your eyes on Rome. But then the countries in Eastern Europe, assimilation wasn't a problem because like we were like rodents and roaches, like they weren't interested in us. But yet pogroms, they just wipe out villages for no reason, and then whoever survived would just flee with the shirts on their back. So you got Ukraine, you got Russia, right? So every country is going to meet their end exactly how they dealt with the Jews over their history, and the end game is going to be that they're going to lose their national identity. They're no longer gonna like France will no longer be French. Germany will no longer be German. They're just gonna lose their sovereignty and their culture and just their identity.
Scary, very scary.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I have nothing here to combat that with to say that, hey, you're crazy. Like, it's unfortunate, but I'm going to give a little credence to this. It sounds.
Here's the problem.
You see the writing on the wall almost.
Yeah.
You see the writing on the wall.
And there's no solution because, like, why were they inviting all these refugees into the country in the first place? Because they needed someone to work to pay the pensions. So the way Avadia writes it, he says he uses the words "ein tavuna bay," which could be understood to mean two different things. And as I was saying, there are two different manifestations. Ein tavuna bay could mean the people that will replace you will be people who have no knowledge, no culture, no contributions to society. And the other way is ein tavuna bay. You will see it unfolding, and you will be powerless to stop it. Like whatever, like you're not going to be able to prevent it, no matter how clearly you see it coming. So, yeah. Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, this is very heavy stuff. Let's shift gears. We don't have much time left.
Well, one thing on the end of this list is that I didn't get to is that you authored a book.
Mm-hmm.
Stop, dropping, LOL.
Yes.
What is that?
It's just a book with some funny thoughts that I had.
Oh, a book that you published. You were in the mood of publishing a book.
It was a humorous book about just how I process the world.
Oh, okay. I guess.
Talking about the world, name some of the places that you've been to throughout your career, some of the crazier places. You mentioned Saudi Arabia as one. That's pretty crazy.
Mentioned Syria.
Especially going in this time is very, very dangerous. But you went obviously with...
I don't think Saudi Arabia is that dangerous.
Right now, at the moment, it's not dangerous?
No. Not
For a guy looking like you, for a Jew?
Well, here's the thing about a country like Saudi Arabia, okay? I had to stop over in London on the way back, okay? You know what could happen in London? Someone could swipe your phone. Someone could just sock you in the face for no reason. You go to the cops and they'll say, dude, sorry, like you're number 800 today. Like, get lost. Like, Saudi Arabia, that's not going to happen. You know why? Because what do you think happens to someone who treats a guest to the country like that? Especially someone like if you're not provoking them, if you're just doing your thing, minding your own business, being very nice, respectful to people. Why would anybody do that? Why would anybody risk beheading just to punch a Jew in the face? Right? Like you are never going to get mugged in North Korea. You're not getting mugged in North Korea. You know, you got to, like, there are trade-offs.
Yeah, the punishment is not worth the crime.
Right.
By the way, isn't that what we always said in New York City? Is that we need tougher laws, more law enforcement, because that's what it gives people a much more of a reason not to do crime. And if you're soft on crime, then people tend to run wild and chaos ensues.
Yeah. They're not in a good place right now.
Yeah, a terrible place. So Saudi Arabia, okay, that was one of the places. Give me some of the other places you've been to.
Iraq.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. I've actually spent a lot of time in Azerbaijan over the years.
I've always wanted to go.
You should. It's fascinating.
There's a nice Jewish community there, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, they have so many Jews that like no one even knows how many Jews live there.
It's funny. Neil Zellman is the one that always tells me we should go. And I always look at him like, really?
Is that in
And
Iraq?
I
Where is
looked into
that?
it and I'm like, wow.
Between Iran and Russia.
Okay.
A very wealthy country.
Yeah, you don't hear much about this country. How do you pronounce it?
Azerbaijan.
Azerbaijan.
They're very closely aligned with Israel. There's a lot of energy coming from Azerbaijan and a lot of military hardware going from Israel. So it's but it is likely has the largest Jewish population of any Muslim country in the world right now. Azerbaijan, yeah, more than Iran, and very possibly more than Turkey by now.
Have you been to Turkey?
Yeah.
Have you been all over the Middle East?
No.
But to a lot of it.
Where's the place that you want to go?
If I wanted to go, I would have gone probably. I mean, I would have
I like that.
I tried going to Iran a number of years ago. I applied for a visa. I was rejected 4 times. I wouldn't advise going at this time.
Yeah, you think? Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, they're just arresting random people and calling them Mossad agents. They're just,
Of course.
like, they're executing people now.
You know, I want to tell you something.
It's not worth it.
First of all, I really appreciate you coming down here and giving us your background and your understanding of this prophecy. It's, usually we talk to people about their background, where they're from, what they're currently doing, what the future holds. With you, we got it all in once because we're already, we know what the future holds, right? What we got to do is study this.
Avadia was a very successful businessman, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, you would have loved him.
Yeah. Yeah. What did he do?
Well, I'll tell you what he did with his money. I don't know how he made his money.
Okay. What did he do with his money?
Well, he spent all of it on. So you had Achav and Izebel, Ahab and
Isabel?
Isabel,
Yeah.
Jezebel, whatever. Sorry, Isabel, if I pronounce it wrong. And they put out a hit against the prophets because basically they were believers in the Baal, and there was this power struggle between the Baal and the prophets of Hashem, and so she's like, just wipe them out. And so Avadia worked in the palace. He was like the only frum Jew in the palace, and he got wind of their idea, and he went and he mobilized 100 prophets, and he hid them in these 2 cave networks. And it was a time of famine, and he spent his entire wealth on just getting them food and water and taking care of them. 100 of them in a time of famine for 2 years. Think of how expensive that would have been.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was the reason why he merited prophecy, because of this insane sacrifice. One of the prophets that he saved was Elisha. So we're talking about, Eliyahu Hanavi was his Rebbe. Eliyahu Hanavi was hiding somewhere else. Eliyahu was the one who kind of, he's the one who said, that's it, no more rain until you guys repent. And that's when the queen was like, all right, that's it. You got to wipe out these guys because they're just going to keep on cursing our empire into oblivion over here.
Wow.
So
Crazy times, man.
yeah,
Those are wild things.
I'd love to sit down and learn this stuff with you separately because I'm curious where you're getting information from and how it's
Sure.
coming to you. And I'm
So this is the sefer that I have right here. It's
Yeah.
a sefer written by the Bnei Yissaschar. It's a sefer that nobody heard of because he wrote one sefer Anach, a parish on one sefer Anach, Ovadia. That's it.
oh, interesting.
And in this first piece, he talks about the fact that Ovadiah's prophecy was the most precise of all the prophecies. And going through it, like a lot of it is heavy Kabbalah stuff, which like I don't get. But like amongst those, there are like pieces that talk very specifically about what's happening today and why it's happening. And it is undeniable, in my opinion, the fact that he decided to write this, that he saw what was going to unfold, and he felt that there were certain messages to give over to our generation. So he put it into the sefer. It was just this niche thing, a tiny sefer that no one really, again, think of like you have a parish on the Haftorah of Vayishlach. Like how many
Right,
people are running out to buy that?
So this is it. This is the one book safer to read to understand it more.
It's not easy to read.
Yeah.
He writes also very briefly, and you also really need to know the news. The crazy paradox here is that like I've tried learning this with like big rabbis and Talmid Chachamim, and unless you're a rabbi who also knows the news, you're not going to understand it.
Yeah.
You have to know the news.
You're able to mix and match and
You
connect
have
the
to know
dots.
both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm fascinated by this. I can't wait to learn more about it. You're opening my eyes to new things, and I'm definitely going to learn in it. More about it. If you can give me a half an hour slot of your time, I would love to.
We could do it. I could do it on the drive back.
Okay, I'm in. So let's do that soon.
But I can give you a TLDR now, right? I can give you just a basic
Yeah.
synopsis,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. You
Yeah,
okay?
what'd you say? Give you a what? A TL? What'd you say?
TLDR, too long, didn't read. That is slang for just give me the bullet points. Like I'm not reading the whole thing. Just,
Too long
just
to
tell
read.
it to me. Tell it
Okay.
to me in a
Yeah.
sentence.
Try.
So yeah, well, not in a very long run-on sentence. So he's talking to Edom at a time when Edom and the Jewish nation were allies, and they went to war against Moab, and there was this incident that happened there, and Edom couldn't vent their frustration out on Moab because they were behind the walled city, so they just let it out on the Jews. And then they became enemies since then. When the first Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, instead of Edom coming to our rescue, and we were brothers, essentially, Ovadia was a convert from Edom. So in his generation, it wasn't such a crazy thing for someone from Edom to show up in a Jewish town and then say, hey, I want to become Jewish, and boom. But then from then on, so this led to their collaboration with the first destruction and their actual carrying out of the destruction of the second temple, but under their shell company, which was Rome, which eventually way overshadowed the original Edom. And so he was speaking to a generation. So that was the context of what he was speaking. And so he was saying, he says like this, he says, right now you started out as a very small nation. You're not, this is actually in the daf a few days ago. He says, you're a small nation. You didn't have you didn't have a lot of territory. You didn't have your own currency, your own language, your own script. Like no one really looked at you. And then one day you're going to look around and you'll see that you're at the top of the world and you're ruling through Rome, your capital city. He says the words, Miram Shifte, from Rome, your seat of power. And Ovadia lived a century before Rome was founded, just to put that into context. He says, and you're going to say, who could possibly destroy me? There's no way. Who could bring me down to earth? And so he says, wait until you rise up like an eagle and until you have bases among the stars. And only from that peak of power will Hashem bring you down to your final destruction. When you have a monopoly and all the knowledge, when you have the most powerful military, we have everything's in your favor. And that's when you'll be wiped out in a very short amount of time. So how will this happen? He says, when you see thieves and, are you allowed to say rapists? When you see thieves and rapists entering your country, what are you going to tell yourself? You're going to say, "Oh, don't worry, they're just coming to like loot a CVS." Just I mean, they're coming for the healthcare. Like, what are you going to tell yourself? You know who these people are. You know why they're coming. They're coming to wipe out your civilization. But you're going to justify it somehow. You'll say, "Oh yeah, I got a military, I got a police force, I got a judicial system. We're the most powerful empire in the world. It's no way these guys can." He says, "How thoroughly will Edom be wiped out? Not only will their entire culture be eradicated, but even their deepest secrets will become exposed to the public. And what will be the inciting force? The soldiers will be drawn to an incident over the border. And while the soldiers are on the border, the fifth column from within will destroy all the major cities. They will send out messages to each other and say, Edom is vulnerable, here's our chance. And they will wipe you out. Why will Edom have such a humiliating, what will be the reason, or what will lead to this? So he says, because of their support of an incident called Hamas against the Jewish people, there will be this event called a Hamas. Their punishment will be they will be inundated with humiliation and they will be cut down from power forever. So
Ovadia uses the word Hamas.
Use the word Hamas. So you look in Targum Yonason. Targum. How does he translate Hamas? Chatoif, which means hostages. Chitufei Gaza, the hostages of Gaza. Chatoif. He uses the same word that we're using to describe hostages today. He says it will be something involving hostages. And the next pasuk of Ovadia clarifies exactly what that event's going to be. Because what happens is Edom's like, wait a second, us? No, Hamas is, they're them. It's not us talking about. And so the Navi's like, I got this, okay? Remember the day you stood against the Jewish people? Which day? The day when foreigners took his people captive and strangers broke down his walls and they said, hey, we're going to liberate Jerusalem? From that day, you were already against the Jewish people. So the Bnei Sascha says that what's going to happen is Edom is going to be behind this Hamas, but like quietly, secretly, because that's how they always do. They operate, and if you look at who all the biggest funders of Hamas were, they were the United States under Joe Biden, Europe, and Iran. Where did Iran get all their money from? Mm-hmm. Right? From the West. So what facilitated all this? UNRWA. What's UNRWA? UNRWA is an Edom entity. The UN is Edom. It's an Edom territory. It's Edom's culture. They pretend to go all over the world to help everyone, but they're not. They just give a seat at the table to all the worst regimes. They're not actually pretending to help anyone, but they still act as if they're
masquerading as the good guys. And they're trying to be in a lot of ways, but
wow,
the defeat is coming from within.
I'm going to probably have to listen to this again in order to understand better. And like I said, I'm going to take some time with you, and it's fascinating stuff. The idea of Edom and just it's almost scary, but at the same time,
let me show you something. Let me show you something inside.
Michael, we have to wrap up.
I'll show you one piece. Okay,
a few minutes.
Yeah.
But I want you to see it inside so that you'll see that I'm not just making. Look, I
brought us each a copy.
That's so nice of you, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure. I have a.
I don't know how much of this is going to be on the podcast because nobody's going to be able to see us reading and so on. But
so then they're invited to find a copy themselves. I'm just going to show you one piece. I'm going to just show you one piece. Okay. On
What
page Kuf Mem Aleph.
Okay.
Michael, do you know how to find Kuf Mem Aleph?
It's
Be honest.
It's after Kuf Mem.
Exactly.
Before Kuf Mem Babes.
Okay. So the Dibra Maskell, the bold letters are V'hinei Amar Chachma Me'edom Etvuna Mehar Eisa.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to try to do this quickly. All right. So he says, Chazal said, and if someone says there's no wisdom among Edom, don't believe him. Edom is going to have a lot of wisdom. He says there's going to come a time when all of the knowledge, and he lived 200 years ago, he lived before the Industrial Revolution. He says there's going to come a time when all of the knowledge, all the Chachmah Tzachit will go rak Edom. Only Edom will be able to draw down. And so all of the inventions, all of the technology, everything, Edom. And he says the rest of the world, so so the rest of the world only has their knowledge through Edom. And it's as if Edom is dispersing this knowledge. And so like they all come to use our universities and and they get degrees from our institutions. And then he says, V'teda, no further, Klolis kolhu umais nikrahar. They're going to form a coalition of all the nations in the world, and that is referred to by the Navi as Har. So when it says Har Esav, it doesn't mean the mountain of Esav, it means the coalition of Esav. And the coalition of Esav is a coalition of all the nations in the world.
United Nations?
Very good, right? And he says, Har begematria Edom, Bavel, Yavan, Madai. He says, these are 4 nations that put us through exile, and these nations have to be judged at the same time. So what Hashem did is he's going to create this coalition of all the nations in the world, which will include these 4 random nations. Edom is not a nation. Edom is like a whole coalition in and of itself. And then Bavel, Yavan, Madai. How else are you getting a coalition with these random players in the world? So if it's a coalition of all the nations in the world already anyway, then however you slice it, these guys are all going to be part of it. Now, what I realized is Har, Hey, 5, Resh, 200. How many members are there of the UN? You have 193 countries. You have 2 observer like states. You have Palestine and Vatican. Then you have 2 other that have like a different kind of status, like 2 islands off New Zealand who are non-state, non-member observers or something. And then you had, I think 2 or 3 that were members and lost their membership, but it totals up to 200. And then you have the veto power nations that have the real control on the Security Council. That's 5. Hey, Reish. He's saying the 5 and the 200 of Esav.
Wow.
See? So, so that when it says Va'olu Meshim Har Tzion Lishbeit Har Esav, he's literally talking about they're going to be judging this coalition of Edom. The UN is going to be is going to sit judgment in front of before Mashiach.
I need to know how this ends.
Well,
how does this all end?
Mashiach.
It ends with
how Mashiach? What Mashiach? What's the climax of this story?
Okay, the climax of the story is Jewish unity. When the religious and I guess everyone else, I'm not gonna say irreligious because I mean whatever. When the 2 major schisms in Israel unite completely and entirely, then our enemies are just gonna fall apart on their own. We're not gonna have to do too much effort, and they are going to. They're just gonna melt away, and then we win the war. I mean, there are things that haven't happened yet. Could speculate.
Part 2.
Speculate, but that's not.
Jake, this was awesome. Before we let you go, we always have an opportunity for you to ask us any questions if you have, and just we'll open the floor to you if you have any questions for us for a second.
Oh my gosh, you make this too easy. What's up with a watch?
I'm a Swatch watch guy, so I like to switch my watches, and every time I leave Israel, I buy one. So it just reminds me of the time that I was there.
And
that was an easy one.
Quite a collection.
Oh,
what about for Oshi? You have anything for Oshi?
How do you get such beautiful hair?
No.
You know exactly what to say to him.
Yeah, thank you.
No, only because we're wrapping up, though. We always ask our guests if they would recommend anyone that would be able to sit in this chair and do as great a job as you did, or someone that would fit our profile. Who is someone that you would know that you would potentially recommend to follow in sitting in this chair?
Before Tchisa Meisim or
No. Tomorrow.
Kim Jong-un. If you could get him down here, I mean, can I stand where he's standing and
yeah, right.
just chime in? I'd be very curious. There are a few things I'd want to ask him myself.
Yeah, but who's someone that you can recommend to bring on?
What kind of answers do people usually give to?
Someone they know.
They pick a person. And
someone they know.
And then
someone
they
that
call
you
them.
think is a fascinating person. Someone that you think is an interesting person. Someone that you think that can lend a story and help us grow with our mission.
Let me think. So like I'm going through my entire head.
I love it. I
my
wish you could
entire
just
brain.
spit out all the names that you're thinking of.
Yeah, but I have to now narrow it down to one. So it's like a
course.
competition. Right now, I'm like, I have to figure out who qualifies for
I
like
know.
the
So
final
what would it be?
64.
What would it be if you spit it out? Don't we won't hold it against you.
I'm trying to think what would fit your audience. I'm not just going to spit out.
All right, then you'll let us know. You'll let us know. It's
I will
okay.
let you know, and then I guess you'll post it in the
Thank you
comments.
so
or
much for
something.
coming, Jake. We really appreciate it. Thank you for all of our likes and subscribers
thank
and
you,
our
Oshi.
comments.
And all seriousness, I've been a big fan of yours ever since you got a lot of notoriety.
I'm a bigger fan since
And-
your new, revelation, I would say.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming on board. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Wow.